Official Strongman Games, Event 2, Farmer's Walk. So the Farmer's Walk, athlete will carry a pair of Farmer's Walk handles, 50 foot, 15 meters down the course, reset, come back for 50 foot, 15 meters. After traveling 100 foot, 30.5 meters, the athlete will grab a second heavier pair of Farmer's Walks and race 50 foot / 15 meters down the course to finish the event. So it's going to be 45 meters total. The first 30 meters is going to be pretty heavy, and then the final 15 meters is going to be heavier. So athletes will compete head-to-head, 60-second time limit, time and total distance completed as you score. Time slots on the front of the farmers across the line. Athletes begin with hands on the implement, must carry the lighter set of farmers before the heavier set. Unlimited drops allowed, no tactiles or straps allowed. So let's just talk about, rather than the intricacies of this particular event, like let's talk about general training, about getting better at, say, a 45 meters farmer's walk. Like what's your go-to at these kind of?
The main principle I would employ is you've got to be strong before you can be enduring. So this is an endurance event. For most people, there's going to be some people that don't finish it. It's going to be tight. 60 seconds, 45 minutes, 60 seconds it's not no easy feat. So you want to be able to bring your grip strength up and your ability to move, 5 to 10 meters, definitely 15 meter max up. So I would be pushing people to train over the weight if they can. That's the main thing. After that, it's a case of then building endurance. So you've got, at the time of the shooting of this video, I think we've got something like 14 weeks, or is it less? Is it 12 weeks?
Yeah, around 12 to 14 weeks, isn't it? So you got.
Let's say it's 12. Let's err on the side of caution. 6 weeks, I'd be looking at promoting the building of maximal strength within this event. Then I'd be looking to build endurance. If you've got someone, let's take our mate, our mutual friend Shane, for example. Let's say he can already do 170 for 15 meters. He's already built the strength. At that point, you can then work on the endurance. But I would spend the first 6 weeks building maximal effort, i.e. 15 meter runs. And then I would transfer into doing endurance work for the final 6 weeks. So probably there and back, and maybe even just the comp run a few times.
Cool. So let's take an example for let's say the under 80 class. Let's say their weight is 118 kilos, 15 meters there, 15 meters back, and then 131.5 kilos. So what kind of approximate range would you aim to get somebody in this next 6 week block? What would you say would be a really good target to get your maximal strength to for like a 10-15 meter run on farmers?
10-15 meter, 140 kilos would be a nice target, nice round number. I think it's doable for most of those guys. You've got some amazing deadlift. We were talking about it at the weekend, weren't we? The under 80 division is stacked. And these guys can deadlift. These guys have strong grip. These guys are amazing all round. I think 140 is realistic, but it's not too far over.
Cool. Right, let's talk about like the intricacies of the event then. So let's is there going to be?
What are your main technique points on the farmer's walk? How do you?
Right. So I would say that's why I find it interesting, because like say I did the right, main technique pointers. So for the first two, assuming that I was doing the under 80 class and I was hitting like the 118, what I would possibly do, because I'm confident with that weight and I'd aim to be really fast. I would be playing around with a couple of different grips, to be honest. So I would be on the first one, at least the first length, possibly the first two, I'd be playing with putting my hands a little bit further forward on the farmers, which I find that just makes that pick up a little bit quicker, because you can almost lever the front end up. It helps me to to keep the farmers more balanced in terms of stopping the like forward and backward sway. I feel like I can keep the bottom of the farmers like almost more parallel to the ground as a move, which I think is really good for like kind of. So you've covered like say building that maximal grip strength, but I suppose I'm talking from a point of like say using your resources as efficiently as possible, if you will. So and also with that first one with it being, I'm not saying it's light, but it's like sub-maximal using this case study. I'd just be kind of using, I'd be gripping more like kind of letting the weight sit in my fingertips, if you will, than getting a full grip on it. Yeah. And I just find that another benefit of starting with that grip is for someone like me who's like, say, my deadlift strength isn't great compared to like, say, farmer's pickup strength, for instance. No, sorry, my deadlift strength isn't great in particular, but I want to with a full grip, I'm having to start with my kind of torso a little bit lower. Whereas with the fingertip grip, I can just raise it allows my start position to feel a lot more efficient. So basically, I'll do that for as heavy as I can until my grip becomes an issue, if you will. So I'll use that, and then I'll find that when I get to the limit on that, again, self-awareness is massive on this because I know kind of where my limits are on it. Then I'll swap over to maybe on the final 15 meters where I'm thinking, I better not drop this. I need to finish it. I'd be going at taking more of a full grip. So getting the palm bit behind, you know, where people like kind of tear a callus. Yeah. People tear a callus on the palm, like kind of locking those calluses behind that kind of like. So you're getting the added benefit of obviously the you're getting the grip squeeze, but once your kind of hand starts to open, you're getting the friction of the handle, like kind of stopping on your calluses, if you will. Whereas technique one, it's kind of you're just relying on your kind of closing strength being enough rather than friction, if that makes any sense at all. So I'm going a little bit deep on this, but basically I've covered a couple of videos recently that'll maybe attached on Instagram, and basically the technique that I did for I did 120 for 10-meter drop and turn at the weekend, and I used this exact technique of putting my hands right to the front. I used the kind of the fingertip grip rather than the full grip because I knew that actually I could afford to make it a little bit less efficient on my grip because I wasn't going that far with it, if that makes sense. And in reward, I got an easier pickup and a faster turn, blah, 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 blah. But the Britain's under 80s comps that was recently where it was it 124, 60 seconds max distance. Yeah. So the technique that I used on that was completely different. And that was because I knew that it was going to be, it's about obviously enduring, but like it was actually a grip event, if that makes sense. Whereas at the weekend, it was a speed event. So being a grip event, I actually used the tactic that Tom mentioned when we were talking about the Viking press and doing like the rest pause kind of style. So I was getting to the end and then I knew that I split it up into like whatever, 10 to 12 second blocks. Because I knew that there was no way I was going to go further than 60 meters, but I wanted to take my time to get 50 plus, if that makes sense. But basically, the technique that I used on that was because I wanted my grip to be as efficient as possible, and I didn't want to tax my grip. Whereas I made sure I got a full grip on each rep. I brought the handle more central on the handle, and the thing that I really focused on there was I focused on gait, and I focused on almost using, which a lot of particularly the lightweights, the 80s, 90s, and the lighter weight girls can do, is like almost using the bumper plates, let them touch, and almost like imagine they're like a really narrow frame carry, and then using the gap to basically move really fast within the gap without letting your legs touch the side of the implement. So obviously it's about maintaining that grip as much as possible, because obviously you see a lot of guys that they're training the farmers walks, and then every step they're
Yeah.
the nudging into it a little bit, which is really obviously smoking the grip.
Yeah.
So yeah, hopefully that makes sense. It's quite hard to explain with that video, but yeah, like a couple of different techniques then, and I'd recommend people again explore and obviously build up that maximal strength, build up your grip strength, build up your footwork and conditioning, blah 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 blah. But also like the specificity of using like farmers walks and trying those few different sets of techniques. I think it can be really beneficial. Have you got anything to add on that, Tom, or any?
No, I mean, you've covered the main bits, and that's what people need. But I find people will fail the farmers for two reasons, and two reasons only. Weak grip, we've already covered that. And then I'll refer to it as the trunk or the core, and it would usually be the cross section. So for that, one of the best assistance moves that I use constantly with all my strongmen is the windmill, standing or kneeling. I think that really helps you translate speed from one foot or one hip into the other shoulder, and that's obviously what running's about.
Yeah, brilliant. So yeah, and that feeds into the principle that I've just been saying about learning how to move unilaterally and moving your legs whilst keeping your torso and your arms like fixed. It should just be, we should just look like we're floating across whereas you see people like
floating is the one.
Yeah, like
it's the same as sprinting and hurdling. You ever seen a sprinter and a hurdler? Their navel, their belly button stays the same the whole way through. And I know what you mean.
Yeah.
If you look at it from the side, it looks like they're floating, and that's probably the best description you can give. And if people film their stuff from the side, they'll be able to see it a bit better.
So I think if you combine the specificity of learning how to move by practicing like farmers, like I say, combining with what Tom's suggesting about building that like specific core stability, I think you'd be onto a winner. And also as well, another little tip with the farmers walk for people who say travel to a strongman gym once a week or whatever, and they only have access to the farmers not all the time. These principles that Tom and I have just suggested, you can practice this with a pair of 10-kilo dumbbells. You can practice your sprints, you can practice your footwork. If you just go to your commercial gym and you grab a pair of 15s or whatever, you might think, oh, well, it's not heavy enough to tax my grip, but it's specific enough to practice the movement patterns of the farmer's walks. You can practice this kind of floating principle that we've just talked about. And then you go to your event day and you get on your set of farmers, and you're going to get so much more out of it.